friend, welcome back. Today's video is going to be another interview breakdown. We're gonna let the camera just roll long form. You guys are gonna hear me talk through the entire setup. And this video is specifically geared towards beginners. If you are new to shooting an interview, maybe you've never shot in a controlled lighting kind of a studio before, if you are still dialing in how to light a talking head, how to expose, how to think about, composition, what do you do first and what lights do you use, I made this video for you. As this corporate video I was filming here in my studio had quite a simple setup, and I had two friends who are relatively new to the world of video production. They are hungry to learn, and so I invited them to the studio to just be with me as I walked through this setup. One of my big hopes for this video was to use fixtures that are on the less expensive side. So two of our lights were just simple 60-watt lights. Instead of using a projection attachment, we opted for a bouncing light off a mirror, and there's several other things that we just did that are on the much more budget end of things. So I hope this video would be helpful if you are growing your kit and you're interested in how to get the most out of it. I hope this video would be helpful to you. So let me know any questions down below and we'll get into it. We can go ahead and bring the blue backdrop down. So if one of you guys can go over there, there's basically the middle chain, there's 3 chains. Yep, you can go ahead and one directional, yep, there you go. You just pull that down. And yeah, and then we can kind of pull it out this way as you keep going. Yeah, that's probably good right there. And then we can kind of scooch it back. This first section is just like really wrinkled, so I usually just pull it down so that the wrinkles are not, I guess there's kind of a wrinkle there, but we'll see if that shows up. Yeah, and this is like normally kind of where I put the chair. There's really no rhyme or reason there. I've just shot in here a bunch of times, so it's typically like, if this wasn't a paper backdrop interview, I'd be like, oh man, how can I maximize depth? How do we like put the subject like way over here? But because this is like plain background backdrop interview, it's kind of like, well, if we're enough away from the wall, we're not going to get like a shadow. Yeah. Then that's usually good. If you had the chair here and then you shone a light, you'd get a big like shadow. So you just want it like far enough away. If one of you guys wanted to turn on the key light and then just kind of roll it out here, yeah, I mean, you can keep bringing it. Yeah, probably about there is good. And then for now, you could just probably turn it up to like 100. And then I'm also going to turn this on just while we're setting up so that it kind of brightens the room. And then Timon, if you wanted to actually go hit the light switch by the door. Yeah, I'll end up turning this one off, but just for now, so it's a little bit brighter in here. I typically just do like cameras first. So if you want to bring that tripod, just kind of like this one right here, you can just scooch it kind of over that way. And probably around here. And then camera wise, if one of you guys wants to grab that one. So now, typically before I do like any lighting, I just like to figure out where cameras are gonna go. So would one of you guys want to sit in? Timon's gonna sit in. So typically all I'm thinking here is I'll have you, let's see, maybe scoot this way in the chair like a smidge, like an inch. Yeah, just to get you centered. And this cam, I'm basically just gonna walk in so that we just have the blue background. And everyone's height's gonna change on the interview, but I usually like to just get it rough. Backdrop stuff like this is funny where you have so much like dead space. I'll probably just move it so that his face is like still on the blue backdrop. If we came more to the left here, we would lose like one of his eyes. So if we came here, like this would be cool for like a documentary or something, but we kind of lose this far eye. So in my head, typical corporate interview is just have the camera, if you're too far here, then it's kind of a weird angle where they're not different enough. Cutting between those is kind of weird. So I usually just bring it to the side enough where we're still getting like both his eyes. And then in this scenario, we kind of have to keep in mind the background. It's kind of weird if you like split his head in half with the blue paper. And then like focal length here, I mean, this is a zoom, so I typically like to like 2x my focal length. So we're at 35 mil on that, which is it's a crop sensor camera. So it's really like a 50. So because we're at 35, I'm gonna go 70 on here, depending on the person. If it's a larger person or a smaller person, I might change that. Like I might zoom out just a little bit, but that's usually a good rule of thumb. Just kind of doubling your focal length on the A-cam. If they're both 35, it just kind of feels funny where they're both the exact same. Before we get the chair set, if we want to throw one of these moving blankets on the floor, sometimes we'll do this. People, you know, girls have high heels. I don't know if any of the guys are going to wear dress shoes, but sometimes they're pretty like clicky clacky. So we can get that. Yeah, and then you go a little more to the right. A little back left a little bit, yeah. Yeah, that's good. We can move on to lighting. I feel like, yeah, all I hope to do is kind of key light, and then we'll probably use the tube light as kind of a hair light, and then we'll try to do the thing with the mirror as kind of a background. Easiest thing to start with, we can just start with the key light because that's simple. So you could like scoot it in as much as we can, where it's not in frame. And basically, yeah, this modifier is like the same thing as a softbox. I've just been liking using these umbrellas because they're double diffused. So it's basically a book light in one stand. Yeah. And for kind of corporate stuff like this where I just want it soft, I've found myself a lot, if I used a normal softbox, I would end up putting another piece of diffusion anyway to get it softer. Yeah. So the fact that you can do it on one stand, and if you're traveling, this packs down like really small into a little umbrella. And so, yeah, that's probably good right there. And then if you want to wheel, you can then wheel the tube light in. Yeah, you can go a little more. Keep going. Yeah, that's good. I'll either do dead center or I'll favor the side of the key light. If you do it on the other way, sometimes light kind of sneaks in and hits them on the other side of their face, which is less natural because it's like, why is their light coming from over here if our key light's coming from over here? And then power-wise, we can route this. If you want to plug into that little port that's right on the end there. Yep. And then there should be a power switch on the underside there. Yeah, you can go ahead and turn that on. Should just.
Is it not battery powered?
It is battery powered, but because we're doing interviews for 8 hours today, it's like the worst thing would be it just dies mid-interview, right, and you're like, we got to shoot again because we have the ability to power it, I usually just plug it in. But yeah, it is battery powered if we need. Yeah, that's good. And is that in the shot at all, or are we okay? Okay, sweet. Next thing we could figure out would be, I'll probably do like a bounce or a neg right here. So for that, if one of you guys could tag team this. So this rolling stand here, you can roll that out. And then, yep, you can grab probably the white one there. My guess is we're gonna want bounce. And basically, have you ever set up one of these before?
Yes.
Okay. It'll flop down from the other side.
Gotcha.
So put it in the stand that way. And so then, yeah, you can undo it. And then you can probably just roll it like back a little bit. Yeah. And so that's just kind of nice to have on standby. We can throw up the neg if we want, but my guess is like for corporate stuff like this, having a little bit of bounce. None of this is moody today. None of this is like super dramatic. It's like, do they look nice? Is kind of the goal. Somewhat evenly lit. We'll try to still have like some shape, but yeah, these just kind of make it easy. But if you didn't have one of these, just like a 5-in-1 reflector with the white bounce side is also easy too. I want to figure out if we can do some type of light streak with the mirror. So if one of you guys wanted to grab the mirror and then the other one can grab that 60-watt light down there. If I was doing this, the other way to do this would be using like one of the projection attachments to get some, and that's what I would probably typically do, but I wanted to try to show today. This mirror was $10, so if you have a $10 mirror and a cheap light, that you can kind of do the same thing. So let's
Standish for this.
Yeah, let's do, you can actually throw it on the one that's right there. And then power is down kind of that power strip. So let's try, yeah, let's just try that, but hopefully it doesn't crack. Cool.
Nice.
Easy. Okay. And then, yeah, we can go ahead and turn that light on. If we could somehow get it coming diagonally down this way, it usually looks the most natural because it's like simulating a window that would be coming in. You know, that at a very minimum would probably work, but I would love to try to get more. Do you want to hold that for a second? I'm just going to take it out and kind of look. So if we move it, okay, if we move it closer, oh yeah. So if you move it, interesting. So if you're farther away, yeah, it's really small. But if we move the light in, that looks really good. Wow. I'll probably just park it probably here-ish. And we're doing it on this side because our light's coming from this side. If you did it from this side, it would still work, but it maybe feels the littlest bit unnatural of like, well, what's the light source? And yeah, I think adding it on that side, because we're in a studio, we have no motivation. There is no window over here. There's nothing that we can show. And so, I don't know, people see paper backdrop and they kind of know it's a studio. Yeah. But in my head, this at least helps give us some type of motivation that the thing that's lighting them is like, oh, there's technically a window out of frame that is what is causing, you know, this kind of streak. So we might have to fix it in B-cam. I don't know how that will look, I don't know if my body blocks it on the white wall or.
Yeah, you don't see it as much, but
Okay.
I don't know how they go properly. Like,
Can you see it hitting the white wall?
you see it a little bit on the white wall, yeah.
Okay. Maybe I try to move it just a smidge. And this is the point in the comment section where someone goes, yeah, dude, that's why you use a spotlight. And it's like, yeah, I know. But again, if you don't have the money for one and you have a little bit of time, you can get a similar effect. Okay, bring it back in just a smidge. And then try to play with the angle. So maybe I angled it too much. Angle it, yeah, back up just a little bit. So I was just gonna try to set exposure on our cameras. It's kind of nice in studio like this. I don't have to shoot with any ND filter. So we're at ISO 1250 because that's the lowest ISO you can be at for log on Fuji. We're at 1/48 shutter. And then this lens is an f2.8, so I just put this lens to f2.8 as well, so they match. So from there, because now we have like controlled lighting, we don't have to use ND filter. In my head, to then add ND filter into this setup adds another variable. that you have to figure out how much ND do I want and do I make the lights brighter. And so I'll let you actually hold this so you can even kind of see what we're doing too. And this button up here turns on false color. Have you used false color before?
Just a little bit. We did a little on the movie. I kind of tried to get my header on it.
Yeah.
But I don't have like a 10.
Yeah. Just looking at it, you're like, oh, it looks pretty good. Like, how do I know if I'm, too bright? And I would say the most common thing that people do on interviews that looks bad is they set their key light too bright.
Yeah.
The skin ends up like way bright. So then the only way to fix that is to bring like the entire image down. And it just usually looks the most unnatural. Like, why is the light hitting that dude's face? Like the sun, like it's so bright. So basically for this, how I'll start is I'll just turn all the lights off. So let's turn this off, this off, this off. And then you can go ahead and actually turn the Godox off as well. There's this power button. So I'm gonna go ahead and turn this one. We're at 50% right now on a 60 watt light. If I completely turn this off or turn it down low, and then I'm gonna turn on false color. And all false colors are different, but if you look on this one and you look at the one on your monitor, pink is 60. That basically means correct-ish exposure for skin. Like white Caucasian skin is typically between 50 and 70. I think 70 is too bright. So 60 is usually somewhat of a sweet spot, and that would be on the bright side. So what I'll do is literally just sit here at the app, and I'll slowly bring the light up. So we've got green, so that's 40. And then what we start to see is 50. And then we keep coming up, and we start to see that pink. So if I go past pink right there, now we have above pink. So that's like 65, 70. So what I like to do is just back it off until all of that goes away. So that the brightest part of the skin that we're getting is 60. So then if you toggle that off, you're like, oh, cool. We're somewhat there. As we turn on other lights, that's gonna change. So once we set the other lights, we'll probably come back and look at that again and be, is the backlight or this bounced light making the skin brighter? But that to start is like a decent place. And so yeah, if you just had one light, you could totally call this a day.
Yeah.
It's a little bit flat. There's no windows in this space. There's nothing, giving us extra light to the background. It's pretty flat as is. But then we're gonna throw on the tube light. So let me turn that on. And I think like the tube light in interviews like this, if you're gonna add one other light, I think it's the light that does the most, because you'll just see like, we don't know what color clothes everyone's gonna be wearing, but you're wearing like a darker hoodie. And just even seeing how that separates you from the background is like pretty crazy. It makes it more three-dimensional. And if we go way too bright, then your hair starts to look crazy bright. So I just usually like to go for subtle here, and I don't really use false color to dial that in. So if we just go 50, I'm like, yeah, it's probably like a little bright, so I'll just back it off. Probably something like 20% is a decent place to start. And it just kind of depends on who ends up sitting down. If it's a female with lots of hair that, is flying away, I might turn it down so that those hairs don't like stand up. But yeah, that's probably like a decent place to start. And so let's go off and then on. So yeah, it's subtle, but I think it adds a lot. Yeah. And then we're gonna add in that other light, texture, this one. Yeah, and so then this one's gonna add a lot. It's gonna add just general, like, I don't know, level to the background. It's probably gonna add a little bit to his face. So that's at 100%. So let's just bring this up. And then, yeah, I think this can sometimes feel like a guessing game. You're like, well, do I go 100 or do I go 10? Like, where do I pick? I think for me, I'm usually thinking, well, if it's supposed to be motivated off the key light, it shouldn't necessarily be brighter than the key light. If we could get it around the same level, that would make sense. So if I turn on false color, I might just keep an eye on the back wall and see if we can get it around the same level of pink or just under pink. And then I'll see with that. So let's see. Yeah, and so then you'll see now your skin's getting brighter because it's bouncing off this wall. So we'll end up probably bringing the key back down. So that's 100. And so that's probably, in my head, a little bright. It's maybe a little distracting. So I'm just gonna bring it down until that pink goes away. So right there, we're like just under 60. So the background streak's at 50. And then we're gonna go back to our key light, which is, which one? Green, 60 green. And then I'm just gonna bring our key light down now so that that hot spot on your face goes away. So probably like right there. So now key's at like 30%. I think it was at 50 before, right?
I think so.
So then turn false color off. And so that's how you don't always have to use false color, but for me, it takes the guessing out of like looking at the monitor and knowing, well, do I go 100 or do I go, like we ended up at 73%. But to my eye, they kind of look the same.
Yeah.
But the thought process there is now the brightest part in the whole image is this side of your face. The background, per our monitor is darker than that. So the attention should go more to your face. The situation where that's really hard to do is if we had a white background. It's really hard to do that. Someone actually commented on a recent video and said, hey dude, your video looks great, but just so you know, it's distracting because the white background's brighter than the face. And I was like, yeah, that's why no cinematographer ever wants to use a white background. Yeah. But when the client says, can we get a bright white background? You'll probably be trying to fight, what brightness do I put their skin at and what brightness do I put the back wall? And I find that you typically have to have the background a little bit brighter for it to.
Because they want white, not gray.
Yes, exactly. So I appreciated the comment. I understood what he was saying. And in this scenario, because we can control it, I would think about that. And I would go, if we have control over the background streak, yeah, let's bring it below or at what the key light is so it feels natural. That's probably close-ish. The last variable is going to be like our neg and or bounce. And so let's see here. Right now, yeah, like our shadow side is pretty much sitting under the green. So the green's like just under 50. And if I walk this in, let's see what that does. So then we still have shape. Like I feel like it's most noticeable over here on Bcam, where we can, we're shooting on the shadow side. There's a little bit of dimension to the face, but it's not crazy. I typically fly the boom in from this side over here so that we're not dealing with a shadow or like, I don't know. Sometimes going over the softbox is not very easy. Yeah. Really for setting levels, you probably heard -12. So peaking at -12 is usually a good sweet spot where you have 12 dB of headroom. They get a lot louder or, it's also not too quiet. I just want to shoot this color chart. So I don't really always use this, but yeah, hold it other way. Yep, like that. And then hold it kind of like, so I can get your face in there. And then at a bare minimum, what I'll use this for is the gray card on the right side is just a perfect white balance point. Yeah. So when I get into post, I can just click the dropper and perfectly like set white balance. You can use these things to like truly match cameras that are different color sciences exactly, but I will not use it for that. But yeah, let me bring this camera around so that the reflection is the same. And I just want to get it in both shots. And then walking through the lighting, here is the key light only. And then here is adding our hair light. And then here's adding the background streak with the mirror. Here is turning our key light off. And here's everything back on. And then to end, one of my favorite parts of every project is the color grade. So here's the image straight out of camera, F-Log2. The entire video I've been showing you guys the footage with the Fujifilm transformation LUT. And then to end it off, here is the final grade. Every image that you guys see here on this channel is graded with my LUTs and film effects in just a few clicks. There's a link down below if you want to check them out. Also other videos on my channel explaining how I use them to get great results really simply. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope it was helpful to see kind of a long form setup here in the studio. You guys really loved the last one I did a few months back, so wanted to follow that up. Let me know any questions down below, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.